To a still picture of us going, you know, it goes around the corner and there we are. I thought maybe if we came into town, because I have a whole green screen.
Permission to use my own lyrics in my book.
Well, too much money.
Nope. The other people just sold theirs and didn't notify. I always think of Birch Day with this. You know, the Swiss Army. The enemy is coming, men. Get out your file. No, get out your toothpick. No.
Those tiny tweezers. Some have
That's why they're neutral country. You know?
Last thing, Fallen Angel. When Dennis and I are almost to the top, he's going to come up that stair and I'm going to come up that stair, right? When we're just about to the top of the stair, I'm going to hit a chord, then you start the drums. And then fairly quickly we come out.
Drums while you're down here.
No. We'll be standing on the stairs. And I will play a little slide chord with slide.
Okay.
And then you start those things and then we come out fairly quickly. Hear a guitar chord. You're going to hear a guitar chord like.
Okay, I'll be there.
The bag with the money?
Then he starts the drums. Then we come really fairly
You
quickly
have
out.
to check.
I am.
Walk this way.
We're here at the Bull Run in Shirley, visual radio live on the road with Joe Bouchard. What a terrific set, Joe.
Thank you very much. We had a great time tonight. Thank you.
The place was packed, and the sound was enormous.
Yeah, sound crew did a great job, made it very comfortable for us. We didn't have a big rehearsal, hardly a sound check, but everything came off without a hitch, so we really liked it. Played a good full set, almost over 2 hours, 2-hour show, nonstop. Yeah, it was fun.
I was telling you, upstairs in 72, I think it was, I went to the music hall to go see you guys with Alice Cooper, and it was sold out. And there was all these people milling about. They couldn't get tickets. And there was so much excitement in the air. There was such a buzz about the two groups.
That was the beginning of our success as a band. It had a lot to do with us opening the show for Alice Cooper. They were hot on the market. We were right behind them, moving right up, and that's where I met Dennis. We became good friends, for ages now. So it's amazing. I look over and I see Dennis playing bass with me, and I say, "Wow, that's Dennis Dunaway over there." So yeah, it was a start of a lot of stuff for us. Was that tour we did with Alice Cooper.
Now, were you guys emailing or whatever to come up with Blue Coupe? How did the idea come about?
Well, it just came out of the blue. My brother got an offer for a gig somewhere in Pennsylvania, just a little gig, and we played in a small club. It turned out great, and then we said, well, we should do this some more, So we started going up to Canada. We did some short tours in Canada. We started thinking about recording, and the reason we started recording is because we kind of wanted to get somebody like Robbie Krieger from The Doors to be part of our group, and he didn't really have the time to do it, but he told us that if we recorded something new, he'd play a guitar part for us. So that really got us excited, and so he played on our first studio album. We played on a couple of tracks. And that was great. And then we made a second studio album, had a lot of great guests on that one. So it's been building up, and we're sort of figured out what we do and kind of figured out the best way to do it. So tonight was a good one, though. You saw a great show.
You're going to come back to Boston next year, I hope.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Dennis is working on his biography. It's coming out on a major publisher. We're probably going to do a combination concert tour and book tour of Dennis's book. So you'll be hearing a lot about that in the new year.
Jay and I taped the late Dick Wagner last year. He was doing that.
Yeah.
The book and the concert.
Yeah. That's a big thing. I think probably our fans that are our age, they want more than just to go out to a rock show. They really want to know all the details, what happened.
Oh, they talk about you on boards.
I know. It's unbelievable. We've been very fortunate. Our catalogs, both our catalogs, the Alice Cooper, Blue Oyster Cult, and we're recording new stuff. So the catalogs have stayed really strong over the years. So who knows? It was a great time to be making music, and we're going to do some more.
Going Through the Motions, great song. They were playing Ian Hunter up there.
Yeah, Ian's a good friend of ours. In fact, one of the things that I did back in, I guess it was about 2000. In 2000, I started getting serious about songwriting because the song that I wrote for Blue Oyster Cult, Astronomy, got covered by Metallica. And that said to me, man, I should write more songs. So I quit my day job.
Which was Blue Oyster Cult.
Well, it was, I was working in a publishing company at that time. I had a nice little, but it was very boring. And so I said, I got to write songs again. And the first guy I called was Ian Hunter, because he lives near me in Connecticut. And I said, Ian, let's go down to Neil Smith's, who's a drummer from Alice Cooper. Let's go down to Neil's house. We have rehearsals on Monday nights, and we'll work on some music. And he said, sure, let's do it. So he actually schooled me in how to write songs. We'd be sitting in my car, because it was about 45 minutes from his house to Neil's house. So we'd be sitting in the car, and he'd be telling me about how he wrote this song, or what the idea was behind that. And then we got down there. He didn't want to play. He doesn't like to have a schedule or anything. He says, I'm just going to observe. But we ended up writing 4 songs with Ian Hunter. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it was great. It was a real education, and working with a real songwriter. It was very intense.
Hey, Barry Manilow covered him,
Yeah. Hey, he was the theme to the Drew Carey
Rocks,
show. Yeah.
I mean, how can you beat
Cleveland Rocks, But, and he just does what he wants to do. And he's a brilliant performer, great songwriter, and inspiration to us all, So.
And you have something else in common with him. He's been on the show.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Well, Ian's drummer is a dear friend of mine, Steve Hawley.
Steve Hawley's great.
Yeah.
Played with McCartney. How good is that?
Right.
Yeah.
So my dear friend was JoJo Lane, the late JoJo Lane. She was married to Denny Lane.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Steve.
Yeah.
And on and on. But we have something we did from our radio show way back when, the demo that got the deal. Was there a demo that got the deal for Blue Oyster Cult?
Yeah, I can tell you that very easy and very easy to find. It's called Last Days of May. Then came the Last Days of May. It's on the first album. That was the demo. And I think the story is that Clive Davis at Columbia heard that demo and said, I want to sign this group. Of course, we had to go through an audition and do all that. So he decided to sign us. We got a deal. We went into the studio to cut a new version of Then Came the Last Days of May, and we couldn't do it. The producer said, the demo just feels right. Let's just put it on. Well, I think they did a little remixing, so that's the story I've heard, that was the track that got us our record deal.
Great song. Now, Doris Troy's Just One Look.
Yeah.
The Box Tops, The Letter, those were the demos that got the deal.
Oh, yeah.
They put them out.
Yeah.
They put a little bit of the airplane sound on the letter.
Doris Troy taught school with my brother, Albert.
Really?
Yes. In West Side High School in New York City. She was teaching with Albert.
When was that?
Oh, probably about 6-7 years ago. Yeah. And she sang on like Pink Floyd and.
Right, but she passed away.
Oh yeah.
You used to talk on the phone a lot.
Oh really? Yeah.
And
yeah, she was teaching in New York and she taught with Albert.
I reviewed for allmusic.com for 9 years. You know that site?
Yeah.
So if you go there for Doris Troy, I did her gospel album.
Oh wow, yeah.
The Rainbow Concert.
Yeah, great voice.
She's just terrific. But
Yeah.
so you've had, But tonight, coming at full circle to the future, I mean, this is really a great. There's so many bands
I practice
out there.
my guitar.
I got to ask you.
I try to not lose my voice in the first half hour. If I can manage to get past the first half hour, I'll make it to the end. You know, you just got to be careful. And the monitors were a little low, but we had a real good monitor mixer, Jen, on the monitors. And I said, Jen, I need a little bit more. And then everything was cool, and I didn't lose my voice.
What was the title of the song before Kick Out the Jams and after Reaper?
A song called Angel's Well. That was a song that I got from, a lyric that I got from the late Jim Carroll. Jim Carroll, Basketball Diaries, and he wrote a couple of lyrics for us.
You can hear him on the Velvet Underground bootleg live at Max's.
So this lyric sat in my attic for like 20 years.
Whoa.
And then he died. So for some reason, the box that was in my attic ended up in my studio. I don't know how it got there. I don't remember bringing it down. But there it was. I opened up the box, and there was Jim Carroll's lyric. And it was telling me, I got to write this song.
It's a great song, and the guitar playing, I'm thinking Pink Floyd. It sounded like Wah Wah and the slide and that effects panel you have is amazing.
That was the one that Robbie Krieger actually plays on the album.
Does he?
Yeah, so I had to do a little bit different kind of arrangement tonight. But I called up, the person that handles Jim Carroll's estate. And it's this archivist that knows everything about Jim Carroll. I said, have you ever seen this lyric? And I sent her the lyric. She'd never seen it. It was like totally written for Blue Oyster Cult and not part of any book. I was kind of worried because I found it and I said, well, maybe this was one. And I did a search and it would never been used. So I said, wow, this is completely exclusive, And it was something that Jim gave me personally, and I didn't finish it at the time because Alan, our keyboard player, says, "No, don't work on that because Jim's going to do his own album," and which was his Catholic Boy album, and so. But he was always hanging out with the Blue Oyster Cult, and a big fan, I guess, And then Alan played with him on a few things, and he was part of the Patti Smith connection, and.
We were on a show 2 years ago, August at the Esplanade.
Yeah. That
was you, right?
Yeah.
It was Blue Oyster Cult, but I don't know who's in the band.
No, 2 years ago? No, it wasn't me.
Okay.
No.
Oh, so
they've had about 5-6 bass players. And right now, Chasm Sultan is their bass player, and he's excellent. Plays with Meatloaf, played with Todd Rundgren, great singer, very talented. But I haven't played with them since 1986. I'm a guitar player now.
My bad. Sorry about that.
I got Dennis Dunaway to play bass for me.
And you can't do better than that.
Can't do better than that.
And your guitar playing is exquisite, man. I just can't say enough about it. It was, you saw the response.
It's taken a while. I really worked at it. After I left Blue Oyster Cult, well, one thing is I sing better when I'm playing guitar. I never thought that I could sing that well while I was playing bass. Some people can do it. Chasm can do it. Sting can do it, McCartney can do it, but I was never great at it. Mm-hmm. And so I think my singing is better now that I'm playing guitar. And then I had to sort of get my guitar up to speed because, I'm playing stuff that Glenn Buxton played. I'm playing stuff that Buck Dara plays. They're incredible players. So I had to do a lot of homework, But it's fun. It's fun. And, get to play off Albert and Dennis is fabulous.
Your slide playing's amazing.
Thanks. That's thanks. I don't know what to say about that.
I don't want to keep you too long, but could you give us an ID? This is Joe Bouchard on Visual Radio.
Sure. Hi, this is Joe Bouchard on Visual Radio.
I hope you guys come back next year.
Yeah, we will.
2015.
We will.
Yeah, because this is a great band.
Oh yeah, and it was like a thing where. Probably at the beginning of the summer, I said, Albert, we played up at Bull Run. It was a great show. Let's go back there. So we're trying to decide what we're going to do for 2015. We don't have any bookings at the moment. Like I said, we'll be doing Dennis's book tour. So it'll be like a book tour, special event tour.
This is one of the great rooms.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. Great crowd tonight. Oh, they were insane.
Well, Joe, thank you
You
so much for
inspired us.
being on
Well,
Visual
thank you,
Radio.
Joe.
All right.
It's great talking to you.
Same here, man.
Yeah.
We are here on Visual Radio with Dennis Dunaway from Alice Cooper Group. Hello. And Blue Coop.
Yes, and Blue Coop and a few in between.
I'm driving in here on ZLX Classic Rock Radio. Alice Cooper, Nights with Alice Cooper. He plays Don't Fear the Reaper. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
As I'm driving in. So that was kind of cool, you know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's such an unusual, great song in many ways. First of all, the riff, as soon as you hear it, as soon as it starts, it puts you in a mood that no other song does. And it's so catchy and universally so. And then the lyrics are about something about, take my hand, let's go commit suicide at work for Romeo and Juliet. And it's an AM hit, but I think it's because it's la, 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 la,
And I think it went right over the DJ's heads. I don't think they realized it,
No, but people picked up, all they hear is Romeo and Juliet, so it's romantic, but it's one of those kind of songs that's so unique. Try to write another one like it. You can't.
Would have been great for Thelma and Louise.
Oh, yeah. I just saw that again recently. Yeah.
It's a great minds think alike. I was telling Albert and Joe upstairs, in 1972, I'm like trying to go to see Alice Cooper and Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh, yeah.
On Boylston Street. And it's sold out. Okay. So like I'm hearing the bands through the walls, right? And there's all these people milling around because you guys, there was such a buzz about the two bands. And you made us lust to see the band the next time because we couldn't get in.
Oh, well, we were playing big arenas by then, but before that, because of our management, Joe Greenberg and Shep Gordon, Alice Cooper's management, we got to the point where we could have started playing arenas, but we stayed in mid-sized rooms because of that, because we knew the promoters that ran the arenas would hear that there would be people outside that couldn't get in, and that would give us clout for negotiating a better price when we did actually go into the arenas. But we met in 1972, Blue Oyster Cult and the Alice Cooper Group. We played at this festival in South Carolina, outdoors on a beautiful day, and these skydivers were jumping out of the sky and everything.
Nice.
And at that point, the Alice Cooper Group had become headliners, and we needed an opening act. And we were walking around out in the crowd. It was Alice and I think some of the other guys. And anyway, Blue Oyster Cult had the big scrim with their logo on it, and they started playing, and I'm like, we should get these guys, and that's what happened. And then I didn't know until years later when Buck told me that they were sort of not doing well at that point, and they were considering throwing in the towel. And he's like, well, and you guys picked us up, and then our career picked up, and we were able to stay together. I'm like, we don't deserve credit for that. It's you guys were so good, that's why we picked you up. And it would have been, if you think about it, if they would have broken up then, it would have been such a shame.
Yeah, because they are so important.
So
an important band.
A lot of great, and it's interesting too because Blue Coop have, so Blue Oyster Cult have two original members. Well, so do Blue Coop, And if you really, technically, Alice Cooper has one original member, and so does Blue Coop. But when we play, so we get, we play all over internationally, and it's interesting to see how the balance of Blue Oyster Cult hardcore fans and Alice Cooper hardcore fans, it's pretty much even. It might be a little bit heavier one night and the other way another night, but it's pretty even.
Interesting. Well, this crowd loved you.
It was a great crowd tonight. And this is such a historic room. I love playing. I'd rather play a place like this than Madison Square Garden any day. Don't tell Madison Square Garden if they're going to hire us, though.
No, because Blue Coop has to play MSG. That's for sure. Dana McCoy, how did you find Dana?
Dana I saw several times over before I knew her, singing in an Irish Review in New York City. Every year, Joe Hurley would have this Irish Review that had all of these wonderful Irish songbirds and all of these, crying in your whiskey kind of songs and stuff. And it would go on for hours. I mean, these shows would be an event that would last most of the day. And it would just be band after band, and it might be somebody that's just doing a U2 song, but it also would be like people from the Chieftains and stuff. And Dana was in there. And then when I started sitting in with them, and Joe and Albert, they have French, so we have enough French blood to be, qualify. And so we were invited to do the show, and we would do I'm 18 with Joe Hurley singing, and great band, a lineup of great guys, Tony Shanahan from Patti Smith, and guys from Ian Hunter's band and all that, great top-notch New York City musicians. But so I was saying, and I had done it for a couple of years, so we would always do I'm 18. And the reason that had an in as far as having Irish content, because Joe Hurley lived in the same neighborhood that Johnny Rotten lived in. And Johnny Rotten picked I'm 18 to audition for the Sex Pistols, and that's how he got the job. Yeah. And he's like, okay, so that means it's Irish enough to be in the Irish Review. And so anyway, I'm saying, we do 18 every year. Why don't we do something like, I said, how about the U2 song, Hands That Built America? From the Martin Scorsese film, New York, I forget the name of it right now, but it's a great song, a really moody ballad. And so we decided to do that. And Dana's one of the singers. And oh man, it sent chills up my spine. It was so good.
It was neat seeing her join the band.
Yeah, she's a ball of positivity, isn't she?
We've been doing something for years. In fact, I'm going to give you a couple of discs called The Demo That Got the Deal. You must know Steve Hawley from Wings.
Yes.
Steve's on one of them. Steve. He's a dear friend. And what was the demo that got the deal for Alice Cooper?
The demo didn't really do it for us. Joe Smith and Mo Austin, who were honchos at Warner Brothers back in the 60s, they came to the Whiskey A Go-Go and saw us play there with Led Zeppelin, one of the first shows they did in America. And they came and they watched us, and then they were overheard walking out saying, how can we go back to the board of directors and tell them we want to hire 5 transvestites? And so we didn't get the deal. We ended up on Frank Zappa's label, Bizarre, which then became Reprise, which I think may have been distributed by Warner's at the time. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It was owned by Frank Sinatra and
yes.
Reprise.
Yes, Reprise. Yes, I always called it Reprise incorrectly, but so that didn't work out. But then we knew that we needed a single. We had a reputation. We had the chicken incident in Toronto, and
The poor thing.
and yeah, that was the demise of Pecker, our pet chicken.
Was it your pet, actually?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you had, it was
two
a,
chickens. We had
Oh, no.
Larry and Pecker.
oh, the poor thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we felt kind of bad about that. And, you know, it's one of the things that Alice says that's absolutely true. He really did think that the chicken was going to fly. But anyway, so we had a reputation, but we knew, okay, we've got all of this stuff. We've got a reputation. People know who we are, but we need a single. And so all these, you know, years of driving around all in the same station wagon, the Alice Cooper Group, listened to a lot of radio. And in the Midwest, there was a lot of good programming going on. And we loved the Guess Who singles. You know, the songs just jumped out of that little speaker in the dashboard, and we're like, we need that guy. Who's that? Who produced that? You know, and it was Jack Richardson. And Jack Richardson, there's two versions of the story. The one that we started hounding him. You know, he'd get to a hotel and he'd have messages from us, you know, hey, listen to Alice Cooper, we want you to produce this. And he'd go to Chicago to produce a band and get to the hotel, same thing, you know. So finally he's like, we got to get these guys off my back, you know. So this young kid who had never produced an album, Bob Ezrin, he said, you go listen to these guys so that we can tell them, you know, that we pass and get rid of them. So Bob Ezrin came, Max's Kansas City and New York City, and he came up to us after the show and he said, wow, you guys are great, you know, I want to produce you. And, you know, Glenn Buxton, with his sense of humor, very much like W.C. Fields, he's like, yeah, you know, I buy him a drink, but he's not old enough. And we thought, you know, yeah, right, kid. And anyway, because him and the manager went to Warner Brothers again, and Warner Brothers said, okay, but we've got to have Jack Richardson on overseeing the project. So everybody gives Bob Ezrin credit for Love It to Death and Killer, which is appropriate, but Jack Richardson was overseeing the whole thing for this young, not an apprentice, but just this young kid who worked for Nimbus 9. And so that's how it happened. We finally had a producer with a line of hits, and you know, and Bob Ezrin turned out to be just as good as Jack Richardson.
I'm 18 sounded great tonight as it did when I first heard it.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
One of my all-time favorite songs.
Oh, thank you very much. You know, that's the great thing about the collision of these two bands into one. We've got so many great songs. I mean, we do a lot of originals, and Joe and Albert are both just so prolific. It's like unbelievable. You know, it's like if you ask them what they did musically today, you'd get tired listening to the list. So we have so many songs, like the song Hallows Grave that Alice sings on. Mm-hmm. That had like about 15 different versions, and some of them were pretty radically different. And so, you know, we have a lot of ideas, and we have a lot of ability to focus those ideas, and we have fun with it, you know, and that's really what it boils down to. It doesn't matter if you're playing, it doesn't matter the size of the room. It's that energy flow between the audience, like we had tonight.
Great
you know,
energy.
oh yeah, I mean, that fuels you. That's what it's all about. You know, that's like a hole-in-one on golf when you have a crowd like tonight.
Well, when you asked about the ending to I'm 18, that was like the first time I heard that was on In Concert. That TV show. You guys debuted the show, I believe. It was the first act.
First show, yeah.
And it was tremendous. And then you did that keyboard intro and then that ending.
Yes. Actually, the keyboard intro and the more sprawling, bluesy version of the song is how the band wrote it.
Oh.
But but because we needed a hit single, and that was the song that Bob Ezrin said, well, that's good. We didn't know it had single potential. We thought it was like more of a, a filler kind of a song. And it was long, lots of guitar instrumental breaks and stuff like that. And then Bob Ezrin took this whole long sprawling thing. He says, you have enough ideas for 10 songs here. Let's whittle it down, do like a Reader's Digest version. And he did it fast. I mean, we did it like in one afternoon. We rearranged it according to his suggestions. And then we're like, you know what? This is really good. So, and then we decided, you know what? We're going to still play it the other way live, but we'll record it this way. Well, that song put food on our table and turned everything around. And it was because of Rosalie Trombley from, not WHUD, CKLW out of Windsor, Canada, because because they were across the border, they could have a more powerful broadcast than what would be legal if they had been in the United States. And they covered all of the Midwest, Detroit and Cleveland and all of those towns up into Canada. So we actually broke as a Canadian group. But I talked to her about it, and she said many years later, I had a martini with her late at night, probably around 2004 or something like that.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I was just in a hotel bar and really hungry, and it was late at night, and I'm thinking, geez, they don't have any food, maybe I'll just have a drink. And a guy came over and said, hey, you're Dennis Dunaway, my mom is Rosalie Trombley, would you like to have a drink with her? I'm like, you got to be kidding. Of course I'd like to. And that's the first time I heard this story. And she was saying that we had just done the chicken thing in Toronto. And so a lot of the disc jockeys at her radio station were thinking, no, we can't play this band, not with their reputation. And so she said, like on the third day, they came in and they kind of said, okay, Rosalie, you can't keep playing this record. And she said the timing couldn't have been more perfect because every phone was ringing off the hook with requests for it. It became the most requested song in the history of that station. And they moved it into a heavy rotation every fifth song. So it was 18, the Stones, Hendrix, Beatles, everybody else, and then 18 again. They played it so much that I was actually getting tired of hearing it. But it sounded great. When we heard it first time on the radio, it jumped out of the speaker just like what we had hoped for. And I asked Rosalie, I said, well, what made you like the song? And she said she put it on, and she said the lyrics of the first verse, she said, that's going to strike a chord with the youth of America, and well, she didn't say America because she was Canadian, but with the youth.
It did. I was 18 at the time.
Yeah, well, I was.
So
I was older than 18, but I was immature.
But you have a great band together now, and we hope you come back in 2015. Is the new record finished? I read on the website about Jack Douglas.
Yeah, the new record, Million Miles More, has been out. Jack Douglas, who did what Joe and Albert both think were Blue Oyster Cult's best album, the live one, On Your
Feet Are On Your Knees.
Feet Are On Your Knees. Thank you. And he also worked, engineered the Alice Cooper albums, the School's Out, and Muscle of Love. So we knew him. And he worked on Neil Smith's solo album, Platinum God. So we knew Jack quite well, and so did they. So we thought, okay, well, we're on a shoestring budget here. Everything's out of pocket. So we did a fan pledge drive. Oh. And it worked well for our first album. And then we decided, if we work at it a little harder, and also because the fans that invested in the first album, Tornado on the Tracks, which we did some songs from tonight. We did Angel Swell, which...
Great song. Second
Robbie
to last.
Krieger played on it, on our album. So, how cool is that?
That was the second encore.
Yeah.
After Reaper.
That's right. Wow, you have a better memory than I do. Oh, okay.
You're being reviewed tomorrow,
Yeah.
but you know.
All right. So the fans that did invest in that one were happy with the results. And I think it's because we all have integrity. You know, not a dime goes towards, let's go and out. If we buy a meal with the money that was pledged in, it's really, everything is to make a better record, because it's just such a great thing to have that direct contact. You know, so people that really like us paid for it, and so of course we want to give them our best. You always want to do that anyway, but it adds an extra feeling of that. And then so the second one, we were able to raise more money, despite the fact that Hurricane Sandy crashed 2 of our computers, and it was a major setback.
Oh.
And then our tour that was supposed to promote the finished album got in the way, because the album wasn't finished and we were on tour, so we couldn't finish it. But we called up Jack Douglas and said, you know what, do you know who might be able to help us on this budget that we've got? And he said, I can make it happen. So now we're going, does that mean he's going to do it or what? You know? And it's actually Warren Hewart who did the Fray, who did the mixing with Jack Douglas's overseeing him. And, you know, and Jack did a lot of things like throwing his 2 cents on this song and that song and everything, but it worked out great. And they moonlighted this. They went to a lot of trouble to be able to do our album for us, because they were at the time laying down the tracks for the what was to be the released Aerosmith album at that time. Yeah, so not only that, but Alice singing on it, and you know, and the first time Donald, anybody from Blue Oyster Cult, had worked with Joe and Albert, and like many.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, Donald plays a scorching guitar on Hellfire Hurry. It's a really fast song, and he nailed it. So we've got them. We've got Goldie McJohn, who was the keyboard player for Steppenwolf, and just
what a great sound he has.
Yeah, and he's a funny guy too. We played Iridium Jazz Club in Times Square in New York City. That's where Les Paul played every Monday night for most of his career, and well, for most of his later career. Anyway, so we asked Goldie if he would like to play at that club, and he flew out from Seattle to do that, just for that gig. And he hadn't been in New York City in 20 years. So now he's in there, and they have the house, this Hammond organ, and it's signed by Jimmy Smith, everybody you can think of. And Goldie's going, I can't touch this thing, not worthy, you know. And we're like, are you kidding? You're worthy, sit down, you know. And we did about 5 or 6 Steppenwolf tunes, and then that's how that happened. Then so when we asked him to play on the album, he was right there for us.
Do you remember Buzzy Linhart?
No.
He had You Got to Have Friends. He worked with Bette Midler.
Yeah.
So he was in that same, Jack Douglas worked with him. So he has a thing, Shaka Pifi, if there's a coincidence. So I wrote you on Facebook. You brought up Goldie McJohn. He had a producer, Gabriel Meckler. Did you ever meet Gabriel?
I don't think so.
Gabriel did Janis Joplin and Steppenwolf and Three Dog Night, and I'm this huge fan. So I wrote an article, The Genius of Gabriel Meckler. So right after I wrote you, I heard from Gabriel's daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she lives in Boston. We're going to go for coffee. But Goldie McJohn's original producer he was the staff producer at ABC. I just had to throw that in because I'm just touched because I loved his work, you know?
Well, I was telling Goldie that John, you know, the original bassist from Steppenwolf, lived downstairs from the Alice Cooper group in our mansion in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and his wife was Animal Huxley, Aldous Huxley's, I don't know, niece or something like that. But Animal was a good name for her because she was pretty wild. And they would have these fights, and he had this acoustic guitar that he had written Magic Carpet Ride on. That was his prized possession. And she knew that. So whenever they'd get in a fight, she'd smash the guitar. And the guitar had been put back together so many times it looked like particle board, you know. And so when he would be, a fight would be brewing, he'd bring us the guitar up. Hide the guitar, will you?
Was that Mars Bonfire? That was his nick?
No, this was, I don't know, everybody called him John, but I don't think that's what.
Because there were the two Edmonton brothers, right?
Let's see. Oh, what was his real name? I can't think of it right now.
That's okay.
He wrote Magic Carpet Ride. He was the bass player on all of their hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great song.
And a very good bass player, very unusual bass player in a good way, really good way. So we knew him, and Goldie didn't know this. You know, he didn't know any of this, you know, because they had split. Apparently, Animal Huxley had some kind of premonition that L.A. was going to have the big one and slide into the ocean, and so she put him on a plane, and they left L.A. even though Steppenwolf had booked studio time, and they had to get another bass player because they didn't know where he was.
What a name, Animal Huxley.
Yeah.
You could write a song over it.
She was beautiful but wild.
We hope you come back here. This has been so much fun, and I know I'm keeping you, you know, but we love having you here on Visual Radio. Would you mind giving us a station ID?
Oh, yeah, great.
It's called Visual Radio, the show.
Welcome to Visual Radio. It's a great show.
Thank you, Dennis Dunaway.
You want another one?
Dennis Dunaway on Visual Radio.
Dennis Dunaway on Visual Radio. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
Great interview. Good luck with the band.
Okay, cool.
It's an awesome, awesome band.
All right, guys. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. I've been, finishing my book. Snakes, Guillotines, and Electric Chairs. It'll be out June 9th. And I've been through every book. I mean, it's like writing a book is like doing 5 albums at the same time.
We told Joe, we taped Dick Wagner last year. He was a friend of mine. You know, he joined Alice.
Yes.
And he had, you certainly must.
I knew him.
And he had a book out, and we did 2 dates of his tour. He would do the book and play.
Yes.
And it was great. And what a lovely man.
And we followed him. We went to Toledo only 1 week after Dick had played there, and he had died. And the people that day, and the fans didn't know that. And we announced on stage that had happened, and we played Sweet Jane in tribute to him. But it was very emotional. The crowd was stunned to hear the news, and then playing the song was very emotional. Yeah. I like Steve Hunter, too. He's up to a lot of great things.
Love them both. They're both guests of Visual Radio. I met Dick September 1, 1973, backstage the first night of the Rock and Roll Animal Tour.
You know, he and I sat this close together working out the guitar and bass parts for I Love the Dead.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tremendous. Wow. Of course, because he's from the Bob Ezrin crew.
Yeah. Well, we brought him in to play guitar on a song, and then he had some riffs that we thought, oh, this is good, so we turned it into a song, but he was mostly the songwriter on it. Yeah. But I was working out these bass parts and figuring out, oh, wait a minute, that riff, let me pick up on that and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's such a cool story. He was such a great guy, and must have been a good friend of yours.
Yeah, well, I didn't get to see him very often, after a certain point, but I'm good friends with Steve. He lives actually in Arizona, which is the Alice Cooper Group's original stomping grounds. That's where we broke out of originally.
I can't keep track of where Steve goes from L.A. to Arizona.
Yeah, he was in Nashville for a while, but he's done this great thing, the Manhattan Blues Project.
With Joe Perry and Johnny Depp on it.
He's got all kinds.
It's a great record.
Yes. And
I did one of the first reviews of it.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
And I reviewed Easy Action for AllMusic.com.
Oh, wow.
Do you ever read that site, allmusic.com? It's a metadata database. So people at Barnes & Noble or eBay, they use the reviews.
You know what I've been reading in the last 15 or 16 years? My book.
Oh, well,
over and over.
I reviewed 2 of the Alice Cooper books, Billion Dollar Babies, Bob Green.
Yeah, Bob Green.
And then there was a Steve Demarest who did one of those quickie paperbacks, which is actually very good.
Me, Alice, right?
No, I think it was before that, but it's a very good book. It was one of those, Valentine was putting out these quickies of all the rock stars, but it was very well done, so I reviewed that for AMG. But my Easy Action review I'm very proud of.
Oh,
David
good.
Briggs, you had David Briggs, right?
Yep, David Briggs.
Neil Young.
Yeah, from Neil Young, and I'm not sure we were his cup of tea. He's like, you know, our humor was weird, we dressed weird, we weren't quite prepared for that album. We went into the studio before we were ready, way before we were ready, so we were kind of making up stuff on the spot. And you know, he was used to things being more, and so we were just traveling so much we couldn't get it together in time. Or actually it was a surprise that we were coming into the studio. We didn't have a rehearsal room or anything, but the trivia thing about that album is I didn't have a bass. So he's like, well, go over and look in that closet. There's some instruments in there, see if there's a bass. I go over, there's a Hofner bass. I'm like, a Hofner? Oh, man, well, that's kind of weird. And then I pick it up out of the case, and I turn it over, and it says, the Cow Sills. I used the Cow Sills bass on that album.
That is awesome. I love hearing that.
That's why it's so bubbly. You know, shoe salesmen and stuff have that. You know, Paul McCartney wrote those bubbly parts. Well, part of it is because that's what that instrument kind of forces you to do.
Well, it's a good record, and it maybe got lost in the shuffle because of all the fame you had, but...
There's fans out there that swear by that album, though, all these years later.
I'm telling you, it's a good record.
Thank you.
And Blue Cooper's a great group.
Oh, thank you so much.
I wouldn't say it, but like I'm just stunned at how good it is. It's just because...
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys have a sound. Joe's guitar playing. What's it like playing against another bass player?
Yeah, right. I know. So
is he rhythmic on the guitar?
Well, you know, they're schooled. They're both teachers. You know, he works very hard. He does triple the work that the rest of us do. I mean, he sings, plays lead, plays rhythm, and plays keyboards at times. Him and Albert are both multi-instrumentalists. But the thing is, it's just a lot of fun. You know, but if Joe wasn't doing all that, we'd have to add one or two other musicians.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
You all are. I mean, it has a, it's in the pocket. Some bands are playing on, you know, different planets. You guys are in the pocket, and that was nice.
Well, you know, we have a lot of history, and we wrote a lot of songs over the years, and so we can just reach back into the catalog whenever we need to. So we have safety nets galore. We can go out on a limb, and if we lose the audience, we'll just hit them with Reaper or something, and we're back on track.
But you guys love it, and that came across. And sometimes it's just a gig for some people, but it wasn't for you guys.
We don't phone it in, no.
No, it was great. And it's an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
All right.
All right. Hopefully see you next year.
Oh, yes.
With the book.
We'll be back, yes.
Yep. Live at the Bull Run in Shirley here at amazing club, and we're talking to Albert Bouchard. Amazing club, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's a big sprawling place. It's I think it's over 100 years old. It's been a club for a lot of the time, and you know, and it's now it's a rock venue, and it's quite cool. You know, it's great acoustics, great crowd. They have great food here. They have an excellent chef. And it's just a really nice night for, you know, fans of, you know, all different genres of music. They had Albert Lee here a little while ago. Last night they had Dan Hicks, and Dan Hicks was here, and you know, so they have a variety of artists. No, it's, you know, it's all national, you know, are mostly national. I don't know if they have local acts, but
They do. James Montgomery and Charlie Farron will be playing here. Charlie was the lead singer for the Joe Perry Project.
oh yeah. I
And,
know, yeah, you know him.
Montgomery's this great blues guy that
Yeah.
you might have run
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
I live 5 miles out of Boston, so this is like a 50-minute drive for me.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice being in the woods.
Yeah, it is. It's a little tricky to get here. You know, there's no main road that you go on, so you end up getting off of 495 or whatever, and driving for a ways. You know, maybe 15 miles. You know, to get to this place. But it's really nice. It's a really cool venue.
It is, and I don't gush over bands usually. We interview and talk to so many people, but I'm really amazed at the intensity that the three of you, it just sounds like such a bigger band.
Yeah, we get that a lot. I think Joe deserves a lot of the credit because he handles a lot of different parts. But, you know, Dennis and I, you know, we try and, you know, because most of this, you know, Alice Cooper was a 5-man group. Blue Oyster Cult was a 5-man group. So we have to try and recreate these songs with just 3 people. But, you know, we work on it, and Dennis, you know, he finds a way to make his bass sound, you know, more than just a bass. You know, he sounds, you know, he fulfills a lot of, you know, he plays a lot of melody lines. He's like one of the most creative bass players I've ever heard. And you know, and Joe does his best to like reproduce all the parts. You know, he's got a way of playing harmonies, you know, and he'll play part of it and maybe in a single note, and then he'll play a harmony just to give it the sense of the harmony. And so
It doesn't sound like he's playing his bass lines. Do you hear the bass lines that you know in his guitar playing?
No, well, you know, I mean, we drafted him into Blue Oyster Cult. You know, he was a guitar player in my high school band. And
I didn't know that.
oh, yeah, he played guitar and piano. And he's actually a really good piano player, too. But we needed a bass player. And actually, it's funny because when I met Don Roser, you know, Buck Dharma, at college, he was playing at the talent show. And I saw him playing, and I went up to him and I said, "Hey, man, you're pretty good." He goes, "Oh, thanks." I said, "You know, you're almost as good as my brother." He goes, "Who's your brother?" I said, "Joe Bouchard." He goes, "Never heard of him." So anyway, so that was my impression of Don. Was, gee, he's almost as good as Joe, you know. So.
Pretty good. The Last Days of May was the demo that got the deal. You were telling us a little story about that?
Yeah. So we met David Lucas at a retreat, you know, a party out in the woods, you know. It was like a kind of, you know, people going, getting high and stuff. And he he brought his family. He didn't realize what kind of party it was. So he was like kind of off on the side there. But we played. And the first night he was like, "Wow, you guys are great." And then the second night he came up and he said, "Listen, I love how you, all 5 of you sing, and you all have like different voices, and I'd love to like work with you guys. You know, can I make I have a studio in Manhattan. I'd love to make a demo with you guys." And we said, "Oh, cool." So we went and we cut like 4 songs. I don't remember what they were. I think we did we did one with Eric singing. I think we did like a Beatles song or something, Bad Boy, maybe Beatles version of Larry Williams, and we did a song with Alan singing called What a Lovely Face, and we did a song that I sang, which was Siren Sing Along, which was actually, it turned into Cities on Flame after that. But the original version was Siren Sing Along, and then we did Last Days of May. And so we played them for Columbia, and they loved Last Days of May. They thought, "Wow, this is great," and we knew it was great too.
I did too when I first bought the record.
Yeah, it was a special song, a true story too. Yeah, we wrote it about this guy that we used to buy LSD and mescaline and stuff from, and he was a Stony Brook student. You know, he was a young man. You know, probably like 19, 20 years old or something, and it was in Newsday. It was a big deal. He you know, and we were friends. We used to party. We used to go to his house and get high and play Chambers Brothers and stuff. And time, wow. But anyway, so he went out to Arizona with a couple of other guys, and the people that they were buying the marijuana from, they took them out into the desert and they shot them. Yeah, and my friend Bill, Bill Tate was his name. He got killed, and one of the other guys got killed, and another guy got shot, but he didn't die. So he survived, you know, and eventually they went to jail. I think, you know, they served like 10 years or something. They're long out now, but, you know, hopefully not getting in any more trouble.
What a story. Yeah. Are you going to write a book?
You know, I thought about it a lot, and I thought, well, I have so many stories. I have a lot of, you know, a lot of experiences, and now I'm watching Dennis go through this thing of writing his book. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. You know, I don't know if you know, I would like to. My mother would be chuffed, you know.
Sure.
Because she always wanted to be a writer.
Have her write it.
Huh?
Have her write it.
Oh, no. Well, she'd have to be doing it through supernatural
Oh, I'm
powers.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. She passed away about 9 years ago. So anyway, but she always wanted to be a writer, and then she married my dad and had 7 kids. So that was a full-time job, really, you know. And but so I don't know that you know, at this point in my career, I still have a lot of things that I want to do musically. I have a solo album that I just put out, and you know, and it's not like I'm dissatisfied with the group. You know, it's just that I've wanted to do a bunch of recordings that were more personal. You know, I write all kinds of songs. Sure. Like Dennis said, you know, we all write a lot. I mean, he neglected to mention that he writes like twice as much as any of us. He's like an incredibly prolific writer. He's got like 200 songs, and they're all good. You know, so if you look at the original recordings, most of the songs he wrote, because he's just got so many good ones. But, you know, I have a lot of songs too, and Joe too. So we are very all prolific, and the songs that get chosen of mine are more like the rock, heavier things. And I wanted to do something lighter, and you know, I wanted to do some songs that my girlfriend might like. You know, so you know. You know,
when you come back, we want to bring you in the studio if you'd like. We're in touch, you know, so. Yeah. Because I don't want to keep them. Yeah. But I want to talk to you. I don't want to be disrespectful to you, because you get some great stories and you're a great guy. It was just a terrific show tonight.
Thank you.
Would you mind doing a visual radio ID?
Sure, no problem. So what do I say? This is Albert Bouchard.
Yeah, on visual radio. That'd be
on visual radio. Oh, right. Hi, this is Albert Bouchard on visual radio.
And even though Joe taught me how to say Bouchard, I didn't want to. I wanted you to say it. Thank you.
Bouchard.
Thank you so much, Albert.
Okay, thank you.
It was great.
Okay.
Just a great show.
Thanks.